You are in a war for your mind, whether you believe it or not. More than anything, the ruling elite have been bombarding the controlled narrative that long before you were even born. They have been using a two-faced mind control technique known as the Hegelian dialectic to control both sides of an issue to keep you locked in a cage of powerlessness. That is how the only vote standing in the pathway of Obama's lame duck New World Order policies was snuffed out without most people asking any questions. That is why the details are so important to a more corrupt county than Presidio County, Texas. He was participating in a long President's Day weekend blue quail hunting vacation courtesy of the ranch owner, Houston billionaire Jon B. Poindexter. Scalia was accompanied by a friend from Washington whose identity remains unknown. The identities of the other guests staying at the ranch with Scalia has also remained a closely guarded secret. Scalia's body was viewed by Poindexter, Presidio County Sheriff Danny Dominguez, and U.S. Marshal Ken Roberts. Dominguez's primary challenger in the upcoming primary election, former Deputy Sheriff Cesar Melendez, says Dominguez violated all standard Presidio County procedures in the death of Scalia. Scalia's room was not quarantined as a potential crime scene, nor was an in-person inquest conducted. Melendez said that sudden or unattended deaths like that of Scalia are always treated as homicides until deemed otherwise from collected evidence, including, at a minimum, an eyes-on inquest. Scalia's family requested that no autopsy be performed, but Texas law requires a legitimate medical inquest, which was not conducted in Scalia's case. Presidio County Judge Cinderella Guevara was contacted after two justices of the peace were contacted to conduct an inquest into Scalia's death. David Beebe, JP for County Precinct 1, said he was busy at a campaign forum in a neighboring Brewster County. Juanita Bishop, JP for County Precinct 2, said she was at a job-related event in Fort Stockton, 120 miles away from the ranch. Beebe said there was only one funeral home in the area, Alpine Funeral Home in Alpine, Texas, a 1-hour drive from the ranch. However, Melendez said there is one in Marfa, a half-hour drive from the ranch, which can also embalm bodies. Scalia's body was inexplicably transported to El Paso in an Alpine Funeral Home hearse. El Paso is a 3.5-hour drive from the Cibolo Creek Resort. Scalia was embalmed at El Paso Sunset Funeral Home and flown out of El Paso International Airport on a private plane to Washington, D.C. Planes to fly Scalia's body to either Dallas or San Antonio were readily available. The funeral director who embalmed Scalia said it is standard procedure to flush bodily fluids, including blood and urine, into the municipal sewage system. Sheriff candidate Melendez said that is not the normal procedure in Presidio County where Scalia died because with a high water table there is always the potential for contamination from sewage system, leaching potentially dangerous fluids into the fresh water supply. Arid desert counties like Presidio take clean water seriously. Someone obviously wanted Scalia moved out of Presidio County to El Paso, where there would be no trace of blood or other bodily fluids that could have later yielded as to what drugs were in his system when he died. The Washington Post reports Poindexter, the owner of Cibolo Creek Ranch, was a high-ranking member of a worldwide male-only society that wears dark green robes emblazoned with a large cross and the motto, "Honoring God by honoring his creatures," according to the group's website. The ancient order's name is in honor of Hubert, the patron saint of hunters and fishermen. The Society's U.S. chapter launched in 1966 at the famous Bohemian Club in San Francisco, which is associated with the all-male Bohemian Grove, one of the most well-known secret societies in the country.
The Bohemian Grove that I attend from time to time, the Easterners and the others that come there, but it is the most faggot goddamn thing you will ever imagine.
The ancient International Order of St. Hubertus is represented by the label on a Jägermeister bottle, no less. Was Poindexter just a member of a small elite hunting club? Don't kid yourself. Nowadays, we the people rarely decide on the promotion of the common good. Ultimately, every key decision regarding future generations is managed at confabs like Davos and Bilderberg by a small group of billionaires that ferret out their demands to their compromised talking heads to ram their New World Order agenda into your cranium. Occult-assimilated lip service agents representing politics, entertainment, religion, and a hidden society of occultic Freemasons that George Washington warned the United States about from day one now decides what barriers to their agenda must be removed. Whether it's JFK, MLK, or Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia.
I told you about the Order of Death, a very important 800-page book that I've read twice. The Nazis were getting rid of the old Illuminati because they didn't want anything that stood in their way. The leader of it wouldn't basically put Hermann Goering, head of the German Luftwaffe, Hitler's left-hand man, in charge of it. They killed the leader of the order because they wouldn't let them take it over. And that's in order of the death said that they were taking out the different Illuminati spinoff groups, the Masonic groups, all of them that didn't fully turn over their entire secret organization to the Nazis. So people like to make these jokes. Oh, Jones says German death cults run it all. Germans, Illuminati. Well, no, it started there, but it's a worldwide system of control, and that's what it is.
Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell is, for the time, waging his part of the Hegelian dialectic, claiming they will wait until Obama leaves office. Of course, when and if something catastrophic happens, Obama will have full support of the bought and paid for media in Congress to nominate a liberal Supreme Court justice once the general election winds down. Wait for it.
Let me make this one point extremely clear.
There's major motive.
He had a pillow on his head.
Meanwhile, according to former Clinton insider Larry Nichols, the Scalia death will be investigated.
Now here's what's coming. There's going to be an investigation. So many of the things that were given as evidence and witnesses' statements have turned out to be wrong. Erroneous, lies, whatever. There's fixing to be a serious investigation, and we're going to find out the truth about Scalia. Now, we may not find out about it through the mainstream media, but I assure you, I will know, and if I know, you'll know, and your audience will know. So that's coming. Now, what kind of got me in the middle of it is the guy that owns the ranch. His name is Poindexter. When I was with the Contras in Nicaragua, when we would fight in the southern part of Nicaragua, there you would team up with the Mosquito Indians. When we'd start being chased by the Sandinistas, we'd run across the border into Costa Rica into a safe farm, 5,000-acre farm, owned by John Hall. But he had a silent partner. Now, this is pretty dubious stuff, Alex, back in those days. This is pretty slippery stuff. Well, guess who his silent partner was? Poindexter.
Regardless of blatant motive, that investigation isn't stopping President Obama, who can barely contain his power-mad glee, gloating over a possible modification of his lame duck status resulting from the death of a long-standing Supreme Court justice.
Appointing judges, the usual stuff.
Before Scalia's body was even in the ground, Obama was bucking for a replacement, recently listing replacements on a SCOTUS blog titled "A Responsibility I Take Seriously." Well, the thousands of Americans attending Scalia's funeral could plainly see that the presence of the president at a Supreme Court justice's funeral wasn't taken very seriously. Jon Bowne for Infowars.com.